5 mana for 1/1. That is what is actually printed on Umbris, Fear Manifest, and it is a mythic rare. It is also an 11,000 deck commander that regularly swings for 21 and deletes a player in a single attack. We are going through the average Umbris list, every deck submitted to EDHREC merged into one, so you are seeing what people actually play, not my pet build. By the end you will know the engine, the math, the kill and the budget version. Here is why the 1/1 does not matter. Umbris gets +1/+1 for each card your opponents own in Exile. Not cards you exiled, cards they own anywhere in Exile permanently. And whenever Umbris or another nightmare or horror you control enters, target opponent exiles cards off the top of their library until they hit a land. That is about 3 cards a trigger. So every creature in this deck is a body and a pump spell at the same time, and the counter only ever goes up. Numbers from EDHREC first, because this commander has had a very strange 4 years. Umbris was printed in Crimson WoW Commander in November 2021, and for 2 solid years almost nobody cared. In August 2024 it was sitting at rank 318, then it caught fire. By October 2025 it had peaked at 87 in the world, with over 700 new decks in that month alone. It has cooled off to the low 200s since, but the total never stopped climbing, 11,040 lists on file today. People build it 4 ways. Horrors is the biggest at 1,043 decks, which is tribal with a commander that pays you for showing up. Exile is second at 988. Mill is third at 757, because filling a graveyard and emptying a library are the same verb here. Nightmares is the small one at 213. Honestly, all 4 are the same deck wearing a different hat. And where does it sit at the table? Of the builders who picked a bracket, 8 in 10 put Umbris at 2 or 3. Casual to focused, real teeth. Nothing that needs a conversation first. Salt score is 0.14, so nobody has bothered salting it yet. For a deck with this much mill in it, that is remarkable restraint. So that is who plays it. Here is the machine that turns a 1/1 into a lethal attacker. The engine starts cheap, and this is the part people skip. Silent Hull Creeper is 2 mana, unblockable, and it is a horror, so it triggers Umbris the turn it lands. Yarok's Fenlurker is 2 mana and rips a card out of every opponent's hand on the way in. Wharf Infiltrator turns your dead creature draws into 3/2 Eldrazi horror tokens, and every one of those tokens triggers Umbris again. 60% of lists run the Hull Creeper. None of these 3 cost more than $2. Now you multiply it. Panharmonicon is in a third of lists, and it says that if a creature entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an extra time. Umbris is a permanent, so every horror you play exiles 2 chunks instead of 1. Nightmare Shepherd is the other half. When one of your non-token creatures dies, exile it and make a 1/1 copy that is also a nightmare, which enters, which triggers Umbris. Your losses became few. And then there is the lock. Leyline of the Void is in 3/4 of Umbris decks, the second highest synergy card on the whole page, and it does something quietly filthy. Every card that would land in an opponent's graveyard gets exiled instead. Every creature they lose, every fetch land, every discard. That is not a trigger, it is a permanent tax that grows your commander for the rest of the game. Stone of EDHREC is the 1 mana version for their creatures at 34 cents. That is the engine. Now let us open the deck up and count what is actually inside it. The average list runs 35 lands and 65 other cards at an average mana value of 3.14. 20 of those sit at 2 mana, which is the biggest bucket by a mile, and 18 more at 3. This is a deck that wants a horror on turn 2, a horror on turn 3, and Umbris on turn 5 with a rock behind it. Nothing about this curve is greedy, and it should not be, because you need bodies down before the commander arrives. In the average 99, that is 25 creatures, 12 artifacts, 10 instants, 9 sorceries, 6 enchantments and 2 planeswalkers. 25 creatures sounds low for a tribal deck, until you notice that 21 of them are nightmares or horrors. 4 out of every 5 creatures in this deck trigger the commander. That is not a theme, that is a requirement, and it is why swapping in a generic good creature usually makes the deck worse. So how often does the engine actually show up? With 21 nightmares and horrors in the 99, 82% of your opening hands have at least one, and by turn 3 that is 92%. The land math is tighter, 35 lands only gives you 3 or more lands and 48% of opening 7s, so keep the 2-lander with the 2-drop horror and mulligan the pretty 7 that does nothing until turn 4. Good odds. Now here is how the deck actually closes a game, turn by turn. First, the trick nobody tells you. Umbris counts cards your opponents own in exile, from anywhere, forever. So graveyard hate in this deck is not interaction, it is a growth spurt. Bojuka Bog is in 79% of lists, and it is a land that exiles a whole graveyard for free. Scavenger Grounds hits every graveyard at once. In most decks these are afterthoughts. Here they are +6, +10 and they never wear off. Then you need to connect. Whisperseal Cloak makes Umbris unblockable and untargetable for 5 mana all in, and it is in 41% of lists. Rogue's Passage is the land version in 62%. 20 cards in exile makes Umbris a 21/21, and 21 is exactly lethal commander damage. One swing, one player gone. And if you truly cannot get through, Essence Harvest drains for your biggest creature's power for 3 mana at 33 cents. So the real clock looks like this. Turn 2, a cheap horror lands and takes 3 cards off somebody. Turn 4, Leyline or a Mana Rock. Turn 5, Umbris arrives already 5/5 or bigger. Turn 6, you suit up with a cloak or run him through the passage. Turn 7, a player is dead to commander damage and the other 2 are staring at an exile pile they cannot touch. And here is the table reality nobody warns you about. The moment somebody at the table reads the words on your commander, you become the arch enemy, so hold the cloak until the turn you are actually swinging for lethal. That is the plan. Now let us talk money, because the average version is not cheap. The average Umbris list at market prices today is about $293. The commander himself is 12, but 1 in 10 builders on EDHREC has this deck locked as a budget build, and the budget list is not a worse deck, it is a slower one. Here's what carries it. Consuming Aberration is 29 cents. It is a horror, so it triggers Umbris, and then every spell you cast mills every opponent down to a land, which with Leyline out means exile instead. Sludge Monster is 70 cents and turns their best creature into a blank 2/2. Mind Flayer is 35 cents and simply takes a creature. Every one of these is a horror first and a good card second. And that is the entire budget philosophy. Clammy Prowler is 19 cents and shows up in 46% of budget lists because it makes your attacker unblockable the turn it swings. Elder Brain is 86 cents and exiles an opponent's entire hand when it attacks them, which is the single biggest one-turn spike on the counter in the deck. Soulguide Lantern is 30 cents of graveyard exile on a stick. 3 cards, $1.35 total, doing the same job as the expensive ones. And if money is not the constraint, 4 cards change what this deck is. Captain Negathrod is $13 and sits in 63% of lists. Your horrors all get menace, they mill on combat damage, and at your end step you steal a creature or artifact that hit their graveyard from their own library this turn. Hullbreaker Horror is $6, has flash, cannot be countered, and bounces a permanent or a spell every single time you cast something. It is also, conveniently, a horror. Zelix's Sanity Flare is the expensive one at $29, and it makes a 1/1 horror token whenever any player mills a creature enter. Umbris triggers. Zelix is in 62% of the expensive builds. Toxrill is $15 and is a board wipe on legs, shrinking every creature you do not control a little further each turn while you sit behind a 20 power commander. That is the whole deck. Here is all 99 cards at once. That is the full average Umbris list, all 99 cards plus the commander. It lives on the EDHREC average deck page. It is linked in the description below, and it shifts a little every week as more lists get submitted. Screenshot it, cut the 3 cards you personally hate, and you have a real deck. Just remember, it is a composite, the honest middle of what 11,000 people actually build, not a tuned list. A 5 mana 1/1 that kills a player with 1 attack, 20 cards in exile, 21 power, done. Build the cheap horrors first, because the 2-drops are what make the commander lethal on time. The average decklist link is waiting in the description. This has been EDH Decks, and there is another commander tomorrow.